Deep in the inky abyss where the sunlight dares not shine lurks a creature that's equal parts nightmarish and misunderstood. Kinda like that hipster kid from high school who only listens to bands you've never heard of. The vampire squid, with its shadowy cloak and otherworldly glow, has perfected the art of being spooky. But beneath its Dracula cape lies a trick that might just turn your world upside down. It's all part of staying alive and staying scary here in Life, Death, and Taxonomy.
Welcome back to Life, Death, and Taxonomy. It's your 30 minutes of interesting animal information. I'm Joe.
And I'm Carlos.
Thank you to Cassie for the creation of our theme song. To hear more of Cassie's music, please search Cassie Michelle on YouTube or Spotify.
And thank you to Johanna for the creation of this week's artwork. To check that out, you can visit us at our home on the web at lttaxonomy.com. And a very special thank you to our patrons. Thank you so much for your support. It's greatly appreciated. Thanks for helping us keep the lights on. If you would like to donate, just visit patreon.com/ldtaxonomy or click on donate on our website.
And today we're talking about something that I swore, I could have sworn, is the phrase, that we've done it before, but we haven't. It sounds so familiar to me.
The number of times that I've put together a bunch of notes and then we've realized that we've already done it is it's kind of embarrassing. And then there was the koala, we actually did it twice.
Oh, you know what it is? This animal has been on that. We have a spreadsheet.
Oh yeah, it's been on there for a long time.
Yes, we have a spreadsheet of stuff that is coming that we are committing to do stuff about in an order, and then we have a list of stuff that we just jotted down a long time ago at the top, and it's there. I've been staring at it every week.
I need to remove the ones that I put on the list. But the funny thing about those, I never remember which ones I put on there and which ones you put on there, so I don't want to steal your animal.
So we never use it.
Mr. Steal your animal. But also some of them are just they're barely researched animals that live at the bottom of the ocean. This is kind of one of them, but we have some information on it.
Good.
So it worked out. But what animal is it?
We're talking about the vampire squid for Halloween.
Yeah, I realized just how finally we did it. We did the vampire bat episode for Halloween in 2018 or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think we've managed to get a Halloween or Christmas themed animal aligned with the holiday since then, but here we are, the vampire squid. And it's it's my favorite, one of my favorite groups of animals, cephalopods.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. As
you can see behind me, if you are watching this on YouTube, that I have a steampunk octopus sitting there.
There's something that looks like a bike helmet that's covering it, but to me,
oh yes, yeah, you can't see it, but everyone on YouTube can see it because I have a different camera. And then I also have an octopus hook that I hang a shirt on over here that no one can see but me. So it's very nautical themed in here, because I think cephalopods are super cool. So we're doing the vampire squid, which is also called the vampire octopus. And guess what? It's neither of those things. Spoiler alert.
It's not a vampire?
No.
What?
Most researchers agree. It's not a vampire. But we're going to call it Inside Out 2, but with organs. Nosferenticles. And Marilyn Monroe. I didn't have a real way to play her name into this, but it'll become apparent why Marilyn Monroe is the name there.
Mariner Monroe.
Man, if I had just thought about it for 5 seconds.
Okay.
Okay, Mariner Monroe. There it goes. Yes, give us a science.
They're in the kingdom, love and are in the kingdom Animalia. The class, the phylum is Mollusca. It's a squid. It's squids and it's basically a snail. We've done 2 mollusks in a row.
Yeah, that's bad luck.
The phylum is Cephalopoda. That means
the class is Cephalopoda.
The class is Cephalopoda. The order is Vampiromorphidae, form of a vampire.
They did the vampire jutsu.
You could do, what is it, Phelomorphidae, which is like, it's sort of like a cat.
Turn into a cat.
It's similar to a cat. This one is a squid, a mollusk, a cephalopod that's similar to a vampire.
Similar to a vampire. Similar to vampires we know about.
Yeah, its morphology is similar to that of a vampire. The family is Vampiroteuthidae.
Vampiroteuthidae,
probably. Yeah, Vampiroteuthidae. And the genus is Vampiroteuthis. The species Infernalis. Vampiroteuthis infernalis.
Yes. An interesting nomenclature, which brings me to my favorite part of the show, nitty-gritty nomenclature. We already know that a bunch of squid is called a shoal, and there's no getting around that. So let's talk about the nomenclature. This is the part of the show where I ask you, Joe, a question, and that is, what is the English translation for the binomial nomenclature, which in this case is Vampiroteuthis infernalis. So what does that mean? Does that mean A, vampire squid from hell, B, fiery bloodsucker, C, vampire on fire, or D, hellish blood lover?
So vampire squid, like toothis, I don't know if it means squid, but I've heard it in binomial. But like, what does the word vampire mean? Can you break it down further? And have you done that? I think it's a vampire squid from hell. Final answer. I'm not gonna overthink it.
Ding, ding, ding. That is correct. Toothis is squid, and yes, vampire. I did not break it down. And Infernalis is of hell. I don't know if you if you theatrically drew that out, because this one was handed to me. The translation for the nomenclature is literally the first sentence on the Wikipedia page. So, I was like, oh well, if I'm sure he already knows it, but I'm going to do it anyway because it's interesting. I'm glad. I'm glad that you actually had to think of it.
Wikipedia that much.
Well, I'm glad that you actually had to think about it and still came to the right answer. But yes, the vampire squid from hell. There's so much wrong with the names given to this. Although I guess you could consider where it lives to be as close to hell on earth as it could be, I suppose. Except for maybe inside lava.
Those sharks that live in a volcano.
Yeah, literally in a volcano would be closer. This is outside of that. This is as close as it gets. But yeah.
Nice. I feel like I've gotten several right in a row.
I need to step up my game, because I could be really mean with this and just like change something very slightly, like vampire squid from hell, vampire squid or hellish vampire squid.
I feel like the translation, like then you're getting into like textual criticism, like which one could it actually mean?
Well, now then I'm getting into like syntax rather than semantics.
Mm-hmm.
But I could just start using synonyms to throw you off the scent. But I don't want to just stump you. I want the listeners to be able to get it right as well.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully you got it right.
Do you want to know what it looks like?
Well, after that description, yes. I would like to know what the vampire squid from hell looks like. Thank you.
Oh, well, it has a gelatinous body, as is the way of the mollusk.
This is the way.
It's typically dark red to black. Very vampiric so far. Very rakdos. It has large bioluminescent eyes that can glow blue or red. It has glowing red eyes. It's a black with glowing red eyes. Pretty sick. Pretty hot topic.
That is Spencer's gifts.
Its arms are connected by webs. It's got webbing that gives it sort of like a flowing cape, a very dramatic cape-like appearance, adding to the vampiriformy nature of it. And the underside has rows of fleshly spines called cirri. So if you just like imagine the most like metal-looking squid, a caped black and red squid that has glowing red eyes.
Yeah. I can see why they would name it the way they named it. But it's also not an octopus or a squid. It is in its own order.
It's its own thing. It was found in 1903, by the way. It was named in 1903. Let's talk about their size. Welcome to the Blood Measure Up segment, the official listener's favorite part of the show. The part of the show that's presented by you when you sit out of yourself singing or chittering the words measure up into ldtaxonomy@gmail.com. It's also part of the show that's when we present the animal size and dimensions in relatable terms through a quiz that's fun for the whole family. We don't have a new measure up intro this week, but we do have emails. And this is our listener mail section. Emails. Yeah. So many opportunities for us to pay people to make our website better. We have 2 emails from Nora. And
always count on Nora.
Mm-hmm. Puts the team on her back. In terms of listener interaction, the first one, subject line elk. Oh, it's elk with 2 exclamation points. It's an enthusiastic
elk.
Yeah. That sounds like you're calling for an elk.
Yes.
That's the world's laziest elk call.
I would like one elk, please.
She says, sometimes I forget that not everyone who speaks English online lives in my neck of the woods. That's true. It's true for all of us.
Some people live in other necks of other woods.
You know, there's people that speak English all the way in like Japan. Like, isn't that crazy? And then I hear you guys.
That's a completely different neck.
Yeah,
and completely different woods.
Then I hear you guys trying to describe an elk like a couple of aliens. She wrote COUPL apostrophe A, and I'm like, oh, a French word. I saw it. I'm like, it's gonna be a French word.
You put an apostrophe in a word, it instantly becomes French. That's what we English speakers know.
A couple of aliens, and remember, like, quote, like a horse and a deer had a dignified baby is decent enough, I guess. Not that they come out to my current Eastern Ontario area, but I grew up out west at the eastern edge of their range. They're referred to as wapiti in French. Didn't we say that? Did you say that?
I didn't say that. You may have.
No, I might be thinking of one of the other animals. There's a wildlife park in Quebec called Park Omega. I'm sure it's not pronounced that way, but that sounds awesome.
Is okay.
PARC, and then Omega, like usual.
Interesting.
That sometimes has some wapiti, and you can drive through slowly. And a herd of them will amble up to your car, stick a head in the car, looking for snacks because they're used to people. Then they'll wander off into the bush. It's great. My kids lose their minds every time we go. You're not allowed to leave your car, mind you. That's good advice.
It's just Lion Country Safari, but with elks.
Yeah, we have Lion Country Safari, which is the same thing but with lions, and they're not wild. This sounds like
you can't drive through lions at Lion Country Safari.
Yes, you can drive through lions at Lion Country Safari.
Do they have them out there?
Yeah.
I thought. Okay, it's been a long time. I remember seeing like rhinos and stuff around the cars, but not lions.
No less dangerous. As for Canada's name, so Jacques Cartier, or Cartier?
You are just on a roll with this French stuff.
I refuse. I cannot. It's too difficult. I can't read it.
Jacques Clouseau.
How would you say that word?
I'm not reading it. I would assume
Cartier.
it's Jacques.
French. He's a French explorer. He walks into the village of Stadacona and asks a passing kid in broken Huron Iroquois what this place is. Is this a passage from the Old Testament with all these names I can't say?
It sounds like a joke. So Jacques, the famous explorer, walks into a town.
Walks into Stadaconia and asks a passing kid in broken Huron Iroquois what this place is. And the kid goes, it's a village. And she says, she is dumb, but, or something equally teenagerous. And Cartier goes, Katana? Great. That's the name of this whole landmass, and morphed into Canada because the French-Canadian accent. There's also a town in the capital region, now technically a part of the Greater Ottawa City, called Katana, or Kanata. I keep saying Katana, but it's Kanata. Makes way more sense.
Yeah, that does make a little bit more sense. I was a little confused.
For this, Kanata as opposed to Canada. The emphasis is on the middle. Anyway, elk sound a lot like moose, and both are ridiculously fun to try and imitate. I will not give it a try, Nora. She says give it a try.
After hearing
myself.
What an elk sounds like, I don't know how you would be able to.
It sounds like a good way to get a headache.
Yeah.
She sent another email about Fat Bear Week, but I think I'm going to save it to like ration the listener interaction.
That sounds good.
I'll save it for next week.
We've already gone on an elk tangent on this podcast about Squid, but it's responding to the last episode. Glad. Thank you, Nora. Glad you found my description of an elk to be sufficient.
Yeah.
Adequate.
Possible.
So
And we should
I'll
try
take it.
one time. You should try reading one of these emails. Maybe somebody less illiterate could get through it.
What?
I am.
Or are you calling
bad
yourself
at reading?
illiterate?
Yeah. Apparently.
No, but then I would be in the hot seat having to pronounce French words, and that doesn't sound like fun. So
You're probably better at it than me. You are a linguistic major.
yeah, and that instantly makes me able to pronounce French words.
Yeah.
Although it is fun to pronounce French words if I know how to pronounce them.
My
And I do know
mom
that-
speaks French.
It's not jocks.
You would. I never said jockus. I said jocks.
Jocks.
I shouldn't. You could easily roll the tape back and I'd be wrong. I have no idea. Let's talk about length. 28
Of the vampire
centimeters of the vampire squid.
Yeah, not elk.
28 centimeters or 11 inches. That is the same as A, 8 sewing needles. B, 53,568 squid go into the diameter of Deimos, a moon, the smallest moon in the solar
Mars.
system. Yeah. It's so
Martian
small,
moon.
it's not perfectly round. C, well, not perfectly round, but it's not round.
This
Or is
like
it
an
C,
asteroid.
112 grains of rice?
112 grains of rice is interesting. No, I definitely don't think it's the rice. Especially if the rice is end to end.
It's diagonal. It's thickness to thickness.
Well, yeah. Do you line the rice up vertically
end.
or end to end? Yeah.
Of course, we're talking length. I'm not a monster.
Clearly, you are, because now we have to figure out how many, like, if 50,000 of them go into the diameter of Deimos. That one.
Diameter
Final
of
answer.
Deimos?
Yep. Because it's the most interesting to me.
The correct answer is 53,568. Going to Deimos. Yeah, Deimos is like 9 miles wide in diameter.
That's a moon that you would not be able to see, probably.
From the planet. Might look like a star.
Yeah.
Like a shooting star.
I mean,
Interesting.
it depends on how far away it is. You can see the International Space Station, and that's not 9 miles wide, so.
Yeah.
But it is really close.
Let's talk about the weight. 0.4 kilos or 1 pound. It's a pound.
It's a pound
Is it
and a foot.
A? Huh?
How many inches did you say it was?
11 inches.
Oh, it's almost a foot. It's a pound and almost a foot.
Yeah. Is it A, 1,091? 1,091 of these squid go into a colossal squid. Or B, 45 of these squid go into a male Doberman pincher. Or C, 250 million go into the Symphony of the Seas cruise ship.
Well, it's nice because it's just a pound, so I don't think, pretty sure a male Doberman Pinscher would be more than 45 pounds. They're pretty lithe dogs. Nah, they got to be more than 45 pounds. I have no idea, cruise ships, they're the heaviest things ever.
What's the limit to the size of a cruise ship you can make?
Money?
Really? Can you make one so big it's immune to weather?
Probably not. I mean, they make those cargo ships are enormous. But I Oh, did you ever see the plans for that like turtle yacht?
No.
Like it was almost like a city that is in the shape of a turtle. It was one of those things that like only like an Emirates chic could come up with.
Yes, I was gonna say it sounds like it's from Dubai.
And it looks, I don't know, I forgot what it was called, but it's in the shape of like a sea turtle. It has like houses and pools and like roads on it. I think it's a hydrofoil, and I was watching a video of how it's one of the most ridiculously designed ideas ever, and there's no way that it would ever come to fruition, but it's just funny.
It does seem extremely not hydrodynamic.
But if anything was going to be immune to weather, I'd say that or an oil rig. What was the first one?
1091 into a colossal squid.
Into a colossal squid. That one, sure. I'd say colossal squid could be 1,000 pounds. That seems like it would make sense if we even knew how heavy a colossal squid was.
The correct answer is
about right.
A, 1091.
Yes.
I got to get in there before you talk yourself
I don't know
out
if that's
it.
ever happened.
It is the largest invertebrate ever, the heaviest invertebrate on the Earth. Well, on the Earth currently, who knows? On the Earth that we know about. There could be another one down
not
there.
the other Earth.
There could be a big snail down there. That's what I'm hoping for. Big snail. Big snail, there's a limit to the size of a snail. Because that shell is a hard structure. It's going to be heavy. And it could be crushing. You wouldn't be able to get a slug. We're probably going to go big with a slug. I'd prefer a snail. I'd prefer a snail. Although sea snails, I have no fan of.
Thalassophobia things. You just dip down in the water and you just see this like country-sized snail down there. That's also kind of terrifying. So sure. Better than a squid, though.
Yeah, I definitely don't like a sea snail either, because there's no face on a sea snail. Garden snails
and also
have
they're
something
venomous.
of a face. Yeah, and I accidentally smashed one this week.
A garden snail?
Yeah.
Huh? Welcome to the club.
And it never feels nice. It's the same crunch as a nice crispy leaf, but you took a life. And that's not good.
And there's a little bit more substance to that crunch than a crispy leaf.
Yeah, a crunch and then like a squelch is not as good as just a pure crunch.
Yeah. Now I want Captain Crunch.
Or those koalas with like pink strawberry frosting on the inside.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Koala cookie frost.
Don't look it up. Let's talk about the squid octopus thing. We keep calling it squid. It's more related to octopods than squid. It looks more like.
I won't call it that because it's called it looks way more like a squid to me.
Really?
Yeah, you know what? You're right. It's difficult to say. It looks like an octopus too sometimes.
It has 8 legs with suckers on them, and it has that big bulbous.
It reminds me, its essence, its aura reminds me of the Humboldt squid. They both shop at Hot Topic.
And they're both called some sort of hell devil thing. Humboldt squid's called the Red Devil or something.
The turn of the century man was horrified by the ocean. Let's talk about some fast facts before we get into another.
I'm gonna name this squid, and then I'm gonna go burn a witch. Those are my 2 to-do lists for today.
That was not a turn of the century man thing to do.
It was in the small town. One of the small towns in Massachusetts that still thought that vampires were.
I guess it depends on the century.
Attacking the town because they had a bout of tuberculosis.
They're living fossils.
19th century.
It's considered a living fossil, which means that it's the only surviving member of its order. Yeah, like you said, Vampiromorphidae is its own thing. It's not it's not a squid. It's not a it's not an octopus. It is a vampire thing.
It's called a vampire squid, but you're focusing on the wrong thing. It's not a squid. It is a vampire.
That's right. It's
it should be vampire. It should be called a squid-like vampire. Is what it should be. The squid vampire.
This is a real thing. It is a vampire. This is what vampire is. Vampires are not Dracula. That's fiction. Vampires are this. This is vampires.
Dracula is like this squid, not the other way around.
Exactly.
I see.
They're deep sea dwellers. They're found at depths ranging from 2,000 to 3,000 feet, 600 to 900 meters, where the sunlight doesn't go down there. There's no sun down there, which also lends itself to the fact that this is a vampire. It does not live in the sun. It does not
see the sun, yeah. The evidence is mounting.
And unfortunately, this next part is not going to be very vampiric, as far as we know. Unlike its name suggests, it feeds on marine snow, detritus falling from above, dead things trickling down, Reaganomics of the ocean. Rather than, it doesn't even hunt live prey necessarily, and it definitely doesn't just sustain itself on blood. But again, this is what vampires are. So Dracula, if it was more accurate, would feast on marine snow, or at least garbage, like a raccoon.
Instead, it just feeds on Mina Harker.
Yeah. It has a defense mechanism. Instead of ink, it releases a bioluminescent mucus cloud to confuse predators. And you think, like, that's insane. That's incredible. Why would it diverge so much from its squid kin? The reason is it lives in the dark. So if you squirt ink,
a glow stick out.
If you squirt ink, it's like, this is what I'm used to. Yeah. I live in the dark too.
It's like when it's pitch black and you can't tell if your eyes are closed or open.
Yeah.
It's that situation. It's like,
if it's nighttime and there's no lights on and someone blows smoke in your face, vision-wise, you're seeing just as much as you were before.
Or someone blindfolds you. It's like, okay, we're still exactly where we were a second ago.
Yeah. But yeah, if you blind them, if you have these giant eyes designed to see in very low light conditions, and then bioluminescent mucus cloud hits you, and I assume sticks to you, that's way more disorienting.
Bioluminescent mucus cloud is definitely my favorite sludgecore band.
Sludge is in the name.
Yeah.
That's all I got. If in terms of where it lives in the world, it lives in the ocean. It's Johnny Cash. It goes everywhere.
Just at the bottom of it.
It actually doesn't really go anywhere that Johnny Cash goes, except for that it goes everywhere.
Oh, I didn't name this major fact. I keep forgetting to do that. I already used Inside Out 2. I'll just call it Inside Out 2. That's fine. I haven't even seen Inside Out 2. It's just on my list.
Ask me something about Inside Out 2. Couldn't describe it. I don't remember anything from it.
Anxiety is one. There's a a new emotion that I had never heard the name of.
Ennui.
It's like ennui. Yeah, never heard of that before. And I still don't know what it means.
It's like French boredom.
Then why isn't it just called boredom?
It's more French than that.
Yeah, but she's from Minnesota, and the main character's from Minnesota and moved to San Francisco. Why are we talking about French?
No, the word refers to something more French than that.
Why does she have French emotions? She's an American.
I don't know, but she ennui is like, it's boredom, but you also don't care. Like, it's not like if you're bored, you want to not be bored. But ennui is more like
depression.
No,
you're apathetic and bored.
It's like lazy,
unmotivated.
It's like a lazy, unmotivated is great. Yeah, that's a great description.
Okay, I feel that a lot. I feel very Henri.
I feel Henry.
I feel very.
I'm an American. I feel Henry.
Yeah, I feel Hank.
Yeah.
I feel pride, anger, and Hank. Those are my three emotions. All right. Okay. The vampire squid has an interesting way of. Well, I'll actually, since you didn't mention it, I'll tie this in with another thing that could have been the major fact. So, the vampire squid lives in an area of the ocean called the oxygen minimum zone. It can live its whole life cycle there. That means the oxygen saturation levels are as low as 3%, meaning that most things that have to move can't live there because it requires oxygen to power muscles. So it kind of occupies the zone as a defense mechanism. It's like, hey, you can't get me. And the way that it lives here in this low oxygen zone is it has blood that transports oxygen more effectively. It has these really large gills that allow it to do that. It doesn't move a whole lot if it doesn't have to. It stays suspended using these balancing organs that are similar to the way our inner ears work. So it just kind of stays suspended at the bottom of the ocean. And since most predators need a lot of oxygen to be able to swim around and catch prey, they steer clear of the oxygen minimum zone. So this is one way that they manage to avoid being eaten. But if they are confronted by a predator, because they don't have to be in the oxygen minimum zone, it's just kind of like base. It's safe. But they sometimes venture outside to hunt. And if they are confronted with a predator, their first line of action, they do two things. Number one is they squirt a bunch of glow sticks in the person's face, in the enemy's face. Like you said, bioluminescent mucus. The second thing is it turns itself inside out. Not completely, but it takes its, like we mentioned, it has these 8 arms, and those arms have this webbing, like a duck foot webbing across each arm. And it just takes this umbrella of legs and flips it over its head. Hence why I called it Marilyn Monroe, or Mariner Monroe, because of that whole like famous picture. Kind of like an umbrella that is turned inside out in the wind, like you're watching a Charlie Chaplin video. And on the underside, like you mentioned, has these, I forgot what you called them, because I didn't put the name of it here. I just called them spiny appendages. Cirri. Not you, Siri. They're not actually spiny, but they look spiny and they look intimidating. And I'm sure in the glow of the bioluminescent spit, it makes for a very intimidating picture. To have just this basic, like, at first it wasn't intimidating. It just looked like a vampire squid from hell. And then it flipped itself inside out and now looks like a spiky pineapple that you want to eat even less. Because it kind of gives it this bloated shape, and all the spikes are sticking out. And it also protects its vulnerable parts, puts its legs or arms out there. Sorry, it's not it doesn't have 8 legs, it has 8 arms. And this may only stun the potential predator for a little bit, but that's all they need to make an escape. It's it's a lover, not a fighter. It's actually more of a baller, not a fighter, because it goes into a ball. And it's just that and where it lives help protect it from enemies. It's only a foot long. Remember, or 11 inches long. So it's actually when you look at pictures, it looks very intimidating, but it's just the size of a football. So it's a pretty small squid. Definitely needs to have a defense mechanism, and it can't be squirt ink in your face because you're already blind.
Yeah.
But and also, like you said, does not feed on blood, is not a vampire, is not a squid, is not an octopus. None of this makes sense. It is none of the things you just described it, Mr. Turn of the Century, sir.
It just looks like one.
Like the bear cat. It's neither.
Yeah. Just seems to have the style of one.
Yep. But that's all I got.
That's all I got.
All right. That's the vampire squid. For you out there in podcast, you lurk in the deep, hold your breath, and turn yourself inside out like a sock straight out of the dryer, like the vampire squid here in Life, Death, and Taxonomy.
Hey Taxonomy Titans, it's almost election season, and that means it's time for you to vote on your favorite segment of the show. Send in your votes to ldtaxonomy@gmail.com or sign up for Patreon, even for free, and your vote counts twice. Don't forget to do your civic duty and vote for Measure Up or Critter Groups. But as always, thanks for listening and engaging.
and Taxonomy is my favorite in the world podcast.
You turn your socks inside out?
My dryer does.
Weird.
And oftentimes I put my socks on
One leg at a time.
in the dark.